Carl, Brendan, and Dan here from Games, Brains, and Headbanging Life, gbhblofficial for short, and it is reaction time as we're checking out the song Chains by the band Before the Dawn. The only thing I know about this band is Brendan wrote a review for the site recently. That's it. That's all I know. So I haven't even listened to a single song for it. So yeah, I'm gonna push it on to Brendan.
So the album itself isn't actually out yet. The album's out in 2 days' time, 30th of June.
As it's
So this is one of 2 or 3 lead singles from the album. Finnish band, melodic death metal. But right, my jam. I think it's very good. I enjoyed it very much. I actually had other songs I wanted to play, but they're not out yet, so I couldn't. But so
that's the problem when you're trying to find a video in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So look, I mean, there's some strange things about the bands, or things that like don't really matter that much. You know, this is their comeback. I guess they've been on hiatus for about 10 years. I don't know anything about from them from like 10 years ago. Like for them to have been on hiatus for that long, I don't get the impression that they released like loads of albums. Do you know what I mean? Like and then went on hiatus. But I don't know anyway. So anyway, this is their comeback, and I was like, okay, it's Melodeath. I'll check it out, and I like it. I do think that probably for a lot of people, they will listen to it and go, oh, this is box standard Melodeath. But in the same way, like if you're a fan of like hardcore or black metal or power metal, whatever, sometimes box standard Melodeath for me is all I need, you know. So,
and as long as it's done well, ultimately, it does. You know, that's what we come down to. Doing this, you know, it applies to all the genres you said there. Yeah, it can be frustrating, and I don't always get excited by just another Melodeath song. But if it's done well, I'll come away at least say, you know, it was appreciative. I'm not going to ask you, Dan, if you know the band, but I'm going to mainly ask what your opinion these days is on Melodeath. You've probably heard a fair bit more than you should, considering your taste. You probably heard a fair bit more.
Fuck is Melodeath?
Are you serious?
What, melodic death metal?
Yes, melodic death metal. Melodeath.
Give me an example of a band in
Scar Symmetry.
Scar Symmetry, Dark Tranquility, fucking
The Halo Effect.
The Halo Effect.
Naming a bunch of bands I've never heard of before.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm trying to think. You might have seen it. Bloodstock with us. That might have been Melodeath. Bloodstock. Dark Tranquility. You watched them last year.
I headlined the Thursday night last year.
You probably did. Maybe. I guess it's not a good sign.
Earthbound in the UK. I played you one of their songs before, and you liked that one.
Okay.
That's one out of 42 strike rate.
Yeah, I have no real opinions, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah, clearly. No worries. And let's see how you feel come the end of it. Let's do this in 3, 2, 1, go. that was nice. It didn't drag. I was a bit worried, particularly, to be honest here, at this point in the recording where like 9 tracks deep, sort of feel a bit tired. I'm wondering if you've got the energy to kind of get yourself through what, you kind of summed up at the start, Brendan, which is a good mellow death song. It's like, okay, what's to get excited about that? But it didn't drag, and I was quite engaged all the way through. It didn't actually go the way I don't. Yeah, okay, it's traditional mellow death. It's very familiar, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like everything else that I've heard in recent times from that, mainly because I think it switches things up. It's more mellow than death. This song in particular is more mellow than death. The clean vocals are the predominant feature, where it's like, it's not, it's the swap around. Instead of being like death, fast, heavy, fast, and then we had a chorus and here's some soaring cleans and stuff like that. This is clean. And then we've got this kind of growler thing, but with a lower tempo as well all the way through. I was expecting, I'll be honest, I was totally expecting them to hit a higher gear and go, and off we go. And then we'll start to play a bit faster. And the fact they didn't was quite nice to hear. It's refreshing to a certain degree. He's got a great voice, very, very good voice. Not wowed by the death metal growls, funny enough, although they're cool, they're solid. They're very familiar. Whereas his clean singing almost had like an old 90s, old metal side of things that remind me from like the 90s. Like that, if you tell me he'd sung in like a grunge band in like the 90s, I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, oh, wow, okay, that's kind of cool to see that sort of variety that he's got. It's definitely there. But, again, it's always mellow death elements. It's got strong riffs. We've got some great leads there. It's really, really good music. It isn't, as you said, I don't think it's spectacular. I don't think it's game-changing, world-beating, or any of that matter, or any of that. But it doesn't matter because it's a good song, and that's more than enough for me. You're muted.
It's all right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing wowed me. Nothing stood out to me. It was just okay.
I'll take it.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Yeah, you'll be sorry.
No, exactly.
I did hear a snippet at the end of that one where you got like the Napalm Records trailers, and that sounded way more interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one's not out yet.
But
that's the question, and really isn't. How odd is that track compared to everything else we're hearing? Is that kind of the vibe, or do we have a lot more traditional, faster?
There's a good mix on the album, really, to be honest. There are songs there are a couple that are more like that sort of speed. There's some that are kind of more mid-tempo, more like the groove thing. There's some where they reverse the vocals more to what we probably would expect, which is, heavier through the verses and then clean the chorus. They did it in the chorus there, where they kind of had the layered sort of vocals over the top of each other. There's a lot more of that in the album, and a few other backing vocals as well. So there are some points in some of the songs where you got like what feels like, it may not be, but feels like 4 or 5 vocal lines going together. So they mix it up good over the album. It's one of the things, man, sometimes with singles as well, especially at this stage, not every some bands sometimes play it safe, right? Let's release a song out there, that's good and gets people enjoyable rather than something that's crazy and people might go, what the fuck? So I think it mixes it across the album well. I think one of the big selling points is the vocalist. I think he has got I think maybe it's just an accent from like where he is, but there's like a sort of, I don't know, a tint to the vocals, which is kind of
There's definitely something there. There's definitely something, because I definitely noticed it as well. Your description is probably better than what I was utilizing. I think you've nailed it there in particular. I think it's one of those where if you hear it and you might be like, okay, I want to hear a bit more from this band. That was intriguing and nice and good enough to make me want to hear more from the rest of this album and see what else they've got going on, more than anything else. So certainly nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's one of those where it's hard to get too excited about, I think, when it comes to reaction, because it is just good mellow death. But there's nothing wrong with that. Chains by Before the Dawn. You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked what you saw, please help us out by giving us a thumbs up and hitting that subscribe button. If you really liked what you saw, consider donating to keep the website and channel running by buying us a coffee via our coffee page or picking up some merch from our Big Cartel store. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as via our social media. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as listen to our interviews via SoundCloud, Apple Music, and Spotify. Just search for GBHBL. Games, horror, and heavy metal. What else is life for?